Well, thank you for coming today, and sorry that we didn't have our speaker system working. We have something here, it's not working. So I hope you can hear me, and I'll try and speak as loud as I can. Listen, what great speeches. I put my wife up to this just this morning. I didn't want to tell her yesterday because I didn't want her to, be nervous for 24 hours. So I told her this morning. I think that was a great maiden speech. Wow. A little long, maybe. No, just kidding.
That's okay. That's why you got 3 minutes.
So, no, that was great, and I really appreciated, what my dad had to say, what Ed Embry had to say. We have phenomenal people in this riding, in this country. Everyone here today is from kind of roughly this area. I mean, we invited people sort of a bit in the surrounding area, but everyone is, relatively close to here. And as you heard from my wife, Jen, we're not big people. I'm not a hot shot. I don't come from, an impressive background or anything like that. And, a lot of Canadians come from kind of just, a simple background. But we built a country like that. We built a country off of a solid, middle-class, hard-working people. And all I can say, I can't claim to be a big shot. I love my family, I love God, and I love my country. And if a bunch of people like that, like you and I, get together, there's nothing that can stand in our way.
Amen.
In the last 2 years or so, we've been seemingly constantly campaigning, and it's been an exciting time with ups and downs, but every single time we've gone through difficulties, it's enabled us to do more. I wouldn't have been able to do many of the things I've done over the last 6 months if I had not been ejected from the Conservative Party. I wouldn't have been able to do the parliamentary press conference that became, within 2 days, the most watched political video of all time. Yeah. It would have never happened. And all the questions that I was able to ask the Trudeau government about what they're doing with COVID and the double standards and the failing to give us promising treatments would never have happened. And so for that, I thank God and I thank them for doing that. Of course, as you heard from Ed, the corruption, the sheer distaste for actual grassroots conservatives, they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed of what conservatives actually think. And their results are showing. They're doing worse in the polls than they've ever done as a united Conservative Party. And they're heading towards sheer and utter defeat. And now listen, I'm not here to gloat. I don't want the country to be run by Trudeau for another 4 years, okay? No. But it's a reality. And so I wanted to tell you today that not only am I running again, but I will be recruiting candidates with others to put them, God willing, in every riding in Canada to make sure that we have a true alternative. So in your riding, wherever you are, we will have somebody there. Now, there's other people out there that are recruiting candidates, and we will try to work together in this kind of thing. But that's what we need. We need to have a movement, and I've seen it. People ask me, Derek, is there hope? Is there a patriotic movement in Canada? There is. I've seen it countless times over the last 16 months. I've seen it in every corner of the country, and I've seen it in every province of the country. other than the ones that were closed and still are closed because of these lockdowns. So there is a movement in Canada. It is starting on the very grassroots level. It's starting here in this riding. It's starting in many other ridings across the country. And we're not going to stop until we take this country back. I'm happy to go to different corners of the country, but I'm always happiest to be at home. And the turnout that we've had today, at a beautiful but obscure location, the fact that so many people came out is really heartwarming. And it shows the degree to which there is unrest and discontent with the political status quo in Canada. And, you know, a lot of us here are awake to things that are going on. There's a lot of other people who aren't awake, but they sense that things are wrong. And what they need is a true alternative that they can actually, you know, a lot of people sense that things are wrong, but until they hear it, they don't know what's up. They need to, Canadians must have a true choice at the polls. And my commitment to you is to make sure, as far as I can, that every single Canadian in this country, in their riding, has a true choice at the polls, someone who is honest, integrity, and is actually there to support the people, as opposed to, you know, just their party. And the party system in Canada right now is destroying the country. Every single person in Parliament does exactly what their party leader says. They're supposed to be representing their constituents. They only do what they're supposed to do to advance their careers. And if they, you know, push back too hard, they get kicked out. And we've seen that federally, provincially, in multiple provinces. What we need is an option for Canadians, for people who will actually represent their ridings, who will actually represent their constituents, and will actually represent Canadians. And I have been working on that, and I will continue to work on that, and we will make sure that we have an option for every single Canadian in this country when the next election is called. And, you know, there's a lot of, in this particular riding, as well as others, you know, there has been a lot of, there's been a lot of things that have happened with our particular riding association. We, my membership was pulled from the Conservative Party. My nomination was stripped against the will of our local board, against the will of our local members. And after they had a requirement that you had to raise a certain amount of money to be able to run again, which we did from my supporters across the country, including here, using my name. Help me, Derek Sloan, get reelected. We raised more than enough money than what was needed. They sent me the thing, hey, you're acclaimed, you're going to be our candidate in the next election. Within a month, they had rescinded that. When our board pushed back, they shut down our bank account, and now the next person that will be running will be using that money that good Conservative supporters across the country, including this riding, donated based on, hey, help Derek Sloan get reelected. It's legal, but it's disgusting. And the person who'll be running under the blue banner in this riding will have paid for those signs with your hard-earned money. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Yeah. So this is what we're seeing. And you know what? The person that is running is, I've met her before. She's a nice person. But to run now is to be complicit in what happened in this riding. O'Toole is heading for the woodshed, and many of his Ontario MPs. If you really want to run, you could have waited your turn. You could have maybe tried to run somewhere else. But the fact that they, knowing that my riding was shut down, the bank account was shut down, their appeals to national councillors and others were completely ignored. We could go on and on and on, as Ed did earlier.
They stole all your money, folks.
Yeah, right.
They took the money.
How do we get it back?
They took the money, and now they're running someone else against us here. So this is what we're seeing. And whoever, now, you know, no one, only one person put their name in for this candidacy. Now, you know, maybe others didn't know about it, but the main reason why, is that a lot of people know what's going on and they don't want to be involved in this, at least in this riding, maybe, you know, maybe in another riding. But in any event, that's what happened. That is the type of candidate that we're seeing, and we're seeing it at a time when, of course, now listen, Aaron O'Toole would have put some lackey here, okay? So there would have been a Conservative candidate running here. But it didn't have to be a prominent local person that knows the story, that knows what the Conservative Party did to us, and is frankly trying to hand this riding over to the Liberals. Let a lackey come in. Let a O'Toole fan person from another riding get parachuted in, and let him have to deal with the defeat at the polls. Okay? But this is what happened from someone who, claims to be, a Conservative stalwart, a Conservative, mainstay in terms of their family and this type of thing. And that's what happened. And if you vote Conservative in this next election, you're going to get someone who's complicit with O'Toole on the carbon tax, on the lockdowns, and all of these things. Now, I know I don't have to convince you these things, but these are the types of things that you may have to convince your neighbors about, and others who say, oh, well, we don't want to, hand the election over to Trudeau. If an election was called today, Trudeau would win another majority. The Conservatives have no chance. Period. At all. So what we're going to do is, like I said, I will ensure that there is a candidate worth voting for in every riding in the country. And so if people don't want to split the vote, they shouldn't vote something else. You should vote for the best candidate. And that's what you should do. So if your friends or your neighbors say, oh, well, I really don't want to, split the vote or this or that. The fact is that in this riding and in every other riding, we have seen all of the major federal political parties completely abdicate their responsibilities to stand up for Canadians. There was nobody who was standing up against the lockdowns, period. There was nobody standing against this mandatory quarantining where people are coming in, they're staying at these weird hotels, their husbands don't even know where they're going. Some people got, assaulted or allegedly assaulted at these facilities. Nobody's standing up against these vaccine passports. Nobody's standing up and saying, hey, why don't we try like some of these drugs they're using in other countries? Like ivermectin and stuff, right? Why don't we try it? We just saw lockdown after lockdown after lockdown. And so for the 50% of the people that do vote, we'll let those other mainstream parties who are different versions of the same thing go after them. And we'll go after the 50% of Canadians who don't trust, don't like, and don't care about what these guys are doing. And frankly, it's the silent majority, and it's the majority in this country. And that's the majority that we're going to go after. So I thank you so much for being here today, and I could go on, but what we'll do, I think, is actually we'll field a few questions from the audience, and then we'll continue to chat informally. But yeah, so I'll go. Just hold on 1 second, sir. Just give me 1 second. But I want to thank you so much for being here today, and there's so many things we could talk about. But the fact is that a patriotic movement is growing and rising in every corner of the country. I've seen it with my own eyes, I've felt it, and I've shook hands with people from coast to coast, and they're sick of it just like you. And we're going to give them an option. It's not going to be a lesser of the two evils kind of thing. We will give them a real choice, and we will see what Canadians choose. There will be a real choice in every section of this country, people who are looking out for Canadians, looking out for their constituents, and not corrupted by the system. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to hear some questions. God bless you, and God bless Canada.